And that many times.
All right, so let's go ahead and get things started. I know more people are going to be jumping in, but it's really great to see everybody again. Thank you for taking the time to be with us. And I would now like to welcome our amazing District Governor, Beverly Lukey, to say a few words and to introduce our panel. Beverly?
Well, thank you very much, Patrick, and certainly Amber. You guys just always rock it. What can I say? And I'm so excited that we're kicking off our district Zoom series with nothing less than the series Empowering Girls and Women. And this was one of Shaker's initiatives that he brought to us as district governors. And I'm so thrilled to have Kevin on with me. He is a classmate from up north, and I so welcome him today. But instead of me talking and introducing you to these three wonderful women, I'm just going to give you a name and a title, and I'm going to let them do that themselves. First, we have Noonday's founder, Jessica Honegger. I so love her because I love what she's done. I was introduced to her many years ago because of the artisans that she supports. I want to also introduce Celeste Mergens, who is the founder of Days for Girls. This woman has truly impacted girls from all over the world, and I cannot think of a better person to be on this panel. And thirdly, and just as importantly, is Christina, and I hope I don't annihilate your name, Colozzo. I'm sorry, Christina. But she is a local, impactful woman that is working locally in Austin, Texas with immigrants, and she will tell you her story as well. So without further ado, let's start with Jessica.
Hey everyone, it's great to see you guys on this Thursday. I love Thursdays because it means Friday is coming. So this is a great way to get to end the day talking about empowering women, one of my favorite topics. But I founded the fashion brand Noonday collection around 11 years ago. We are a social impact fashion brand, and we're creating entrepreneurial opportunities for artisans in vulnerable communities in over 13 countries around the world. I also wrote a book called Imperfect Courage that Brene Brown endorsed and is a best-selling national bestseller. And I also have a podcast called Going Scared, where we talk about getting outside of our comfort zones and living a life of purpose. And I'm happy to be here today. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Celeste?
Hello, everyone. It's so good to be with my fellow Rotarians. It's a delight to be here with this whole group. My why is to help communities help themselves and to have the joy of being able to tackle something that really can be changed in our world. So Days for Girls helps women and girls all over the planet get their days back. We make sure that they have access to menstrual care products so that they can go to school and go to work and have productivity, dignity, health, and the ability to make a difference every day. We have done that in 144 countries, and it's our 13th birthday just a couple days ago. And we have now reached 2.3 million women and girls.
Amazing, amazing. And certainly, Christina, introduce yourself as well.
Hi, everyone. My name is Christina Collazo. I'm the founder and executive director of Todos Juntos Learning Center in Austin, Texas. We are a dual generation learning center focusing on supporting the academic and social well-being of immigrant and refugee families through education, empowerment, and community support. And my why is rooted in my own personal experience. As a child who grew up with a lot of adversity and in poverty, that really impacts a child's development and future outcomes. And I really saw the way that impacted my life and my own development and that of my brothers. And so that kind of catapulted me to do this work, which is focusing on mothers and their children through education together at the same time, because it really has cemented the belief in me that every child deserves a caregiver in their lives who can help them navigate school and life.
Wonderful. Thank you, Christina. You know, as I look at this and having been familiar with each of you and what you're doing, what I would love to know from each one of you is actually, how in the world did you actually take on your project? How were you inspired? What brought this to fruition? And I will start with Celeste first.
Well, first of all, I never thought to ask this question. So when people say, I never thought of that, I can completely understand. I have a background in part in helping communities be more self-sustaining around the globe. And I never asked the question what they were doing. I learned that girls were sitting on a piece of cardboard for days at a school and orphanage I was helping whenever I passed through Kenya, the place I was primarily focused at the time. Jessica, you and I have that in common. That's where we started. I was stunned to learn they were sitting on a piece of cardboard for days. And we at first provided disposable products, but there's no place to throw them away. And what happens the next month when they need more? If a community or individual or family chooses between food and pads, they're going to choose food. So how do we make a sustainable product? We've now been through 31 versions of our product, which is a washable product, which washes with very little water and dries quickly and is culturally relevant in all the countries we serve. We have 2 patents that we hold for that because of the wisdom of those we serve. But the moment that it was born, honestly, everyone, was the moment when we passed out the first Days for Girls kits, these washable kits that weren't very well designed. I can say that it was my idea and I designed it. It was not well designed. Thankfully, we listened. And the girls explained with smiles, thank you so much, because before you came, we had to let them use us if we wanted to leave the room and go to class. And I hope that didn't mean what I feared it meant, but it turned out they were being sexually exploited in exchange for a single disposable pad. And that was the moment Days for Girls was born. And ever since, I wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning excited to get started on something we really can change in our world.
Yeah, talk about impact. Oh my goodness gracious. Thank you for your story. And I know that's going to initiate a lot of questions here in a little bit. But so Monica, Christina, tell me how in the world you developed this project that you have.
Yeah, thank you. Well, first, Celeste, that's amazing. Thank you for sharing that story. That's incredible. So the way Todos Juntos started, so we opened our doors in 2009. We wanted to create a place where mothers and children could come together to learn English, because language shouldn't be a barrier, but it is. And for our mothers, the additional compounding barrier was that they needed childcare for their children in order to learn English. And so we created this place where mothers could come with their children together at the same time so that they could both learn English together, though apart, right? Moms are in one part of the building learning English, kiddos are in another part of the building learning English and getting ready for school, building community, developing networks of support, gaining access to different resources and services in our community, and learning how to navigate a fragmented social services system, which is a whole other barrier in and of itself. And so the approach for us that's really important is that everything we do is holistic. And so we provide wraparound services all on site. We partner with over 35 organizations locally to provide 4 core programs. When parents come to our center, when mothers come to our center, they become awesome community college students. They get an ID, access to different services and resources that college students do. But more than that, most of our parents only have up to a 6th grade learning level. So to become college students by enrolling at our organization, it is such a boost to their esteem, and it creates a clearer path to next steps in their education. But more than anything, to get to say to their children, I am a college student, just the foundation that lays for that entire family to really promote education for generation over generation is super powerful. And the reason that we do this work is because in Central Texas right now, less than 50% of Latino children are ready for school. And the Texas Workforce Commission projects that by 2040 in Central Texas alone, there will be a 200% increase in English language learners. And then finally, we also know that a child's success is directly correlated to a mother's confidence and her educational attainment. And so all of these things really inform and guide the work that we do. And so we offer 4 core components to do all of this work together. We have an adult component, child, family focus, and health focus component. And we couldn't do that without all of our incredible partners, including our friends, our Rotarian friends who help us do this work every year. And then also through our community partnerships, which help us really maintain an affordable budget, well, as affordable as the budget can be for a nonprofit. But also success for us is kids who are school ready, parents who have the language skills and workforce development to navigate the community, families who prioritize education for generation over generation, and parents who know, mothers who know their role in their child's education and brain development. And then that everyone at our center knows what their health rights are. We talk about know your rights in the legal aspect, but we don't talk about know your healthcare rights enough. And that is something that can be a real hindrance to access for care for a lot of our families. And so in terms of the last 18 months, the impact is that we've given out $360,000 in direct cash assistance to the families that we serve while still maintaining our core programming. We've also provided them with food, PPE, vaccine clinics, access information, culturally responsive information. We bring healthcare professionals into the workplace, into our center to help educate our families. And then we create parent vaccine ambassadors who can go out and help inform their communities in the most culturally relevant and responsive ways. We also equipped every student with a brand new Chromebook or Dell laptop so that they could continue to learn virtually while we were apart. And we also initiated a one-on-one mental health support, professionally facilitated mental health program where they can get direct access to professional therapists, as well as to try to just break down that isolation, going out to a ranch to do horseback riding, kayaking, fishing, swim lessons, just different things that our families really wouldn't have access to before.
Wow, what a impactful source that you have given to the Austin area and certainly Central Texas as well. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Wow, that's impactful, Christina. Well, Jessica, I know
Come
your
back to
story.
follow Celeste and Christina.
I was going to say, I know you have a story, so go for it. You have a great story.
Well, thank you, Christina and Celeste. It's always so humbling to connect with other women that are living from that place of passion and connecting their purpose with changing the world. My story started when I was in high school and traveled to Kenya for the first time. And on that trip to Kenya, I befriended many Kenyans, and one of the local Kenyans that was introducing us to his community took us to one of the more poor parts of Nairobi and introduced me to a woman who was running a brightly colored fruit stand. And he explained that this woman had received a $40 microcredit loan, and through that loan had been able to start this small business. And through that small business, she was able to provide for her children and get out of an abusive marriage. And this was at a time when microcredit loans wasn't really a term that was around. The Grameen Bank had not been formed yet. And I just held that in my heart, the power of just such a small amount and how a business could really create a pathway out of poverty for another woman. Fast forward, when I graduated from college, I ended up majoring in Latin American studies. I've always had a passion for Latin America. I ended up moving overseas and working with an organization called Food for the Hungry in development work. And living overseas, that was something else that I saw. I saw that when a person had that entrepreneurial spirit and was given the opportunity to start a business, they were able to create a pathway out of poverty for their family and then oftentimes for their entire community. I had no idea how I'd actually be involved in this work. I moved back to Austin and became an entrepreneur myself. I started a real estate business. I started flipping houses with my husband, and all that while kept wondering, when is life going to take me back to really my passion, which is really connecting the opportunities that I had and creating opportunities for others. Well, my husband and I had 2 children the old-fashioned way, and we decided to grow our family through adoption. I had a difficult second pregnancy, and through a long story that you can read in my book, we ended up adopting through from a country called Rwanda, which is in East Africa. And international adoption is quite expensive, but again, we had our real estate flipping houses, aka Chip and Joanna Gaines style, and I thought we're going to use this nest egg in order to fund this international adoption. And then the housing recession hit, and I don't know how many of you that impacted, but we had 5 homes that we owned at the time, no doc loans. And soon we were in a really hard financial situation. And that nest egg that we were going to use to fund our international adoption was soon paying for our groceries. So I knew that I needed to do something in order to complete our adoption process. And at the time, I had connected with some friends of mine living in Uganda, which is right next to Rwanda. And these were friends of mine from Food for the Hungry, the organization I'd worked for in my early 20s. And they were in Uganda to create entrepreneurial opportunities for Ugandans. And one of the businesses that they tried to get off the ground was an artisan business. They had met 2 artisans named Jalia and Daniel, and they made beautiful things. And they sent them over to America, and they were sitting in storage. So they had made the things, but had not created the marketplace yet to create demand for their goods. So my friends living in Uganda said, what if you just started selling some African-made items? And I at first had told them no. I had laughed them off. I thought, you're crazy. I'm doing real estate. I've got 2 kids. I'm about to adopt. But courage cornered me when you start living off your credit cards. And so that is when I remembered, oh my gosh, I have friends that offered, for me to sell these artisan made goods, and perhaps this could be a way to complete our adoption. So I called them up and they said, offer still on the table. So one night I opened my home and I displayed all these beautiful African made items, and women came. And they absolutely wanted to be a part of it. They loved being connected to the makers of the product. They loved the product. And I saw in that night that Women on a Mission could be unstoppable. And there was demand for the product. And so other women said, well, can you get more of that necklace? Because I had one necklace that sold out, and they were like, give me that. So I did not know this was going to be the beginning of a business. But the next morning I woke up and I contacted my friends living in Uganda, and I said, could I get more product? And here we are 11 years later. We have impacted over 20,000 families. We work in 13 different countries. And Jalia and Daniel, those first 2 artisans who were extremely poor at the time, are now leaders in their community. In fact, the local police have come to their place of work and said, I need to know what you're doing here, because I keep seeing community members wearing the t-shirts with the name of your company on it. And I have seen crime reduce since you came here, because many of the places where Noonday has a presence, there are not a lot of opportunities for dignified work. There's either unemployment, there's a lot of exploitation, and we come alongside and we create that opportunity. We create that market demand. Erin Rigsby, which is the whole reason I'm on this call, she is one of our Noonday collection ambassadors. And the way we have created our marketplace is through women like me. So 11 years ago, I started asking women to open their homes. Women said yes. And I quickly realized there's probably a lot of other women out there who want to style their friends, have fun gathering, and do that while creating economic opportunity for others, while also earning an income for themselves. So we launched the ambassador opportunity about a year after starting Noonday Collection. And Erin has been one of our top ambassadors year after year, and is just, she herself has lived in Africa for several years and really connects with the mission of what we do. And that's how we share the news to this day. So it's fun being on here with all of you guys today. So thank you.
Thank you, Jessica. And I can tell you, I could open my own Noonday jewelry store, because when I buy a piece of your Noonday collection, I know that I am supporting a woman and her children, if nothing else. And it's such a great feeling. So thank you, each one of you panelists, for sharing your story. And I think Patrick's got a question for you.
First of all, I'm honored to be with the three of you. Truly, we've had some amazing guests in the past that I sit back while I'm listening to them going, wow, I need to step my game up. And this is one of the biggest ones where I'm sitting there going, I thought I was doing, and I do stuff around, but the three of you, wow, the world's a better place because of each one of you. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. And speaking of this is sort of a question that's personal to me, but also to anyone on the call. My father was killed 2 years ago. And so I want to start a foundation in his honor and really make an impact in patient advocacy. And we're in the process of it, but life gets in the way, right? And you get busy and you forget about it and stress and everything else. What was the biggest challenges that the three of you faced getting this started? I mean, we've heard the story and it's powerful from each of you, but what were those one or two challenges and how did you overcome it? Did you reach out to community leaders? Did you have organizations like Rotary help you? And what would you say to someone on the call today that wants to plant that seed, to make that difference, to start that organization like you three have and thrive and make an impact? So I'm just curious. Let's go backwards. So we'll start again with Jessica because she was the last one, and then we'll go with Christina and Celeste.
Yeah. You know, there are a million challenges, right, when you are starting something. And I knew after doing these gatherings all over Texas at first, and then after getting ambassadors who are now partnering with me, and they're counting on me to deliver products to serve their customers, I knew that I needed a partner to match my weaknesses. And I do not have a finance background or a production background. Fulfillment, operations is not my strong point. And so within a few months, I quickly realized that if this was going to really take off and fly, I needed to not just be a solopreneur. And there are many ways that you can go about doing that. You can start doing a friend and family raise and raise some money. You can start going and pitching to VC companies. I wanted an angel investor, which at the time I thought was a literal angel, that they just gave you money and then flew away. So that's about what I knew about investing 11 years ago. But I ended up just meeting with different people. And I'd say that's just something that you really need to do. If you have a passion or a vision, I mean, even right now, Noonday Collection has been going through a really hard time thanks to the COVID and thanks to the Delta variant, because our whole business model has been built around physically gathering people. So while everyone pivoted in 2020, people have gotten pretty tired. I'm sure this thing you've probably seen that here. You probably used to have like hundreds on Zoom, but everyone's just fatigued. And I think that's been really challenging. And so our sales have really been impacted by people's fatigue and then the lack of gathering. So we're in the middle of looking at how else we can open up additional revenue streams. And it's all started by meeting with people. We just start connecting, meeting. Oh my gosh, I know the CEO of the company that does this. Okay, I've heard about this before. And so I began doing that and quickly found someone who actually asked to be my business partner. And he had a finance background, had his MBA from Wharton, and he'd always wanted to run a social business. And at that time, for me, it was a challenge to share this idea that I had, and also to let someone else bet on me. Because at the time I'd been a year in doing this thing, but now I had someone who said, I'm going to live off my savings account. We were not paying ourselves a salary in those first couple of years. The adoption had been funded, and now it was just, okay, we're going to see if this business is going to work out. And he was willing to live off of savings, and he had 3 children, and letting him risk and me sort of not take that responsibility as his bank account got lower and lower. Thankfully, that second year we were able to draw a salary. So that's good. So letting someone risk on me and then partnering with someone, as wonderful it is, also has many challenges. And so working through partnership with someone and then really leading while being a young mom and figuring out what you don't know, though everything is figure outable. And we quickly did learn that. And I would say, the biggest thing I would tell someone is just take that next step. I think people often get paralyzed because they're thinking about the outcome. And often really people are hung up on, well, what if this doesn't succeed? Then I'm going to be a failure. And it's often your mindset that actually really needs to shift when you're starting something. But also you cannot finish what you don't start. So if you're just going to sit and mull over it and create some business plan and then meet with 20,000 people to go over your business plan, you're not actually doing anything, so you've got to go out there and talk with a marketplace. If you're thinking about a nonprofit, then it's all about donor money. So is someone going to give money out of their pocket to your idea? For us, it was a product. Are people actually going to purchase this product? And just start small. Don't despise the days of starting small. There's no insta success. I love having Christina and Celeste here, how they have been at it for years. I've been at it for years, and there's going to be ups and there's going to be downs. But you've got to just commit and do that next right thing so that you can actually see if this idea does have legs.
Thank you, Celeste. Thank you so much.
This is so fun, such great answers and such great learning. I would say two primary things come to mind for me. First of all, people support what they create. And by that, I mean, if you invite others to be part of it, then they can use their talents, bring their voice, bring their perspective. And if you're open to who is this resonating with, it doesn't have to resonate with everyone. Thank goodness there are people that care about helping immigrants get on their feet and have a successful experience in their life. Thank goodness there are people that care about entrepreneurial issues and pets and music and all of the things that matter for a global community. And if you can trust that what you're excited about is the thing that calls to you, and that will call to others as well. And if someone says to you, no, they're not interested in supporting it, just be excited that they'll find the thing that does and next. And so in that way, you can be fearless and know I'm just looking for my tribe, right? So the other thing that I would say is that recognizing that, like Jessica just said, you don't have to get it perfect. You don't have to get anything you do perfect. The people that get things done are the people that are willing to start just as they are. When Days for Girls started, it was a really new thing, a washable pad like this. And then almost immediately, the very first distribution came with education, and we invited the local community to help deliver that education. And can I tell you that one a surprising moment was we didn't even have, it was 3.5 weeks. We didn't even have a chance to rehearse who was going to say what, not like your very coordinated hosts here. And we were up stood one of the students who was going to present about why you needed to stand up for yourself. And we had done education about periods and strength and safety. And she said, if a boy bother you, I tell you what to do. You tell him zip it. I said, just zip it. I'll never forget it. And the point is, neither did she. And the point is, it worked perfectly. You can just trust people. You don't have to get it perfect. Today, our education is incorporated in the Ministry of Cambodia's curriculum and the Ministry of all of Malawi, all over the world. But we started with a group standing up, doing our best, and zip it. And lastly, I would say that as we learn to we teach women and girls and community members to make them all over the world as a business. They're almost half of what we do today. And so we have that and global volunteers who make them right where you live. So these two things living together is a little sticky and it's a hard way to do it, but there are benefits to both. So we chose this innovative way. And my point about that is your heart knows what works for you. It will be your own invention, and that's okay. And it doesn't have to be perfect. And guess what? What matters is it's not the thing that's hard to pull, like a big rock that you're pulling along. It's the thing that lifts you like a sail. When you feel that one, go. That's your purpose.
Great. Thank you so much. Christina.
Yeah. Well, I jotted down a quick list because I didn't want to forget. the things that you made me think about something that I haven't thought of, I guess in a while, but I would say do your research, see what else exists that may align with what you're already doing. Maybe you don't want to recreate the wheel. Maybe you can find some way to collaborate with someone. Lean on the experts, just like Jessica said, you want to find the people who know the things you don't know. When I started my organization, I did not have a business background. I wish I'd leaned more on the experts for that instead of stressing out for the first 6 years about the things I didn't know. Also determining what your guiding principles are. What is the purpose? What do you want from that experience? What do you want the outcomes to be? Do you want to, for me, one of the things that I prioritized, my guiding principle was quality over quantity. And I think that is a major thing to consider when starting something new like this. Being flexible, you have to be flexible because mistakes are going to happen, or things are going to change, like a winter storm or a pandemic. And you have to rise to the occasion. And you can only do that if you're flexible. Also, learning from any mistakes, anything that doesn't go the way we anticipated it would, finding the silver lining, finding the opportunity in that. And when I think about COVID, anytime I've talked about COVID in the last 18 months in regards to our organization, I always talk about how COVID created so many hardships and catapulted hardships that already existed that for years people looked away from, right? But can no longer look away from. But it also created an opportunity to highlight and to dig our heels in and say, no more. I don't have to shy away from helping immigrant and refugees in our community. They were intentionally left out of, government support. Well, guess what? We're going to support them, and here's how. And it was amazing to see the outpouring of support from our community to step in and support the families who really needed it through this. And so, I would say research, partner, lean on the experts, and lead with kindness, compassion, and curiosity.
Thank you. And the reason I asked that question is twofold. One, there might be someone on this call or is going to listen to this recording that wants to start an organization like yourselves and make that lasting impact. But there are Rotarians and clubs all over on this call and are going to listen to this recording. You guys can create a partnership with these organizations. Once we're done here, hopefully you've gotten a lot of information. There's going to be links on the chat section to be able to connect with each organization. But think about the things that we can do to empower women and girls all over the world. It takes one step to continue to move forward. And as an entrepreneur myself, I agree with everything you guys said. You got to stop talking and start moving. And I love it. And I'm going to have that Zip It song in my head all day long. That was awesome. But thank you guys. That was so powerful right there. It just moved me. So thank you, three. Amber has some questions. Amber.
I do. Patrick actually led that in perfectly for the question I wanted to ask next. And I specifically wanted to ask this of Celeste. But now that I'm thinking about it, I kind of want to ask all three of you to answer this as well. But there's so much focus. And again, this is going to be played at other clubs. And we all want to be involved in empowering women and girls. What role can our Rotarian men help in supporting this and your efforts? Celeste, since yours might be the hardest one there. So
I love that question. And first of all, can I just say what I think we all know, but just say it, that we know that from the data that supporting girls raises the global, the country's gross national product, that they go to school longer, that they marry later. The impact for the community isn't just the girls, it's the entire community that is lifted when we support girls. And so with that, I would say that what we've found is having men engaged in the topics we face, one of the most taboo in the world, menstrual equity. Nobody wants to talk about periods, even where we live, right? So taking that on and not including the men in that means that we're not really eradicating the shame and stigma. So in fact, we've seen that when you include men in the conversation, then it becomes a shift throughout the whole community. And by data, you get less shaming and more confidence and more support. It's incredibly important that we invite everybody, because supporting women and girls means really stronger communities. So if everybody is choosing and supporting something to increase the wellness of their community, then the shift is real. And so in actuality, some of our strongest ambassadors of health in the world are men, and their stories are powerful. And it's really, truly important that the equity of women and girls is seen as a conversation for everyone to have. Thanks for that.
Jessica.
Yes, I am going to show you how men can help. So let me share my screen with you. And okay, I am a co-host, so I'm going to pull this up. Hang on, let me make sure I share my screen. Okay, here we go. So you can shop for the woman in your life. You can shop for the men in your life, and you can do that by supporting your Rotary Club. And it's really exciting. We have holiday collection that just launched this week, eco-friendly gifting. We have a beautiful home goods collection that we've just launched. And then of course we have many accessories and beautiful things. So guys, we also have a men's collection. We've got beautiful leather goods for men. And of course, we have all of the jewelry in the world that you could ever want. So we truly have something for everyone. It is not just jewelry. We have these, and every single thing is handmade. It's fair trade. And it's like, we just do it all the work for you. So really, if you could just shop with Noonday Collection, that is the way that you truly can be a part of what we're doing. And while over 70% of our artisans are women, we really do believe in lifting all families. And many men in our communities we're really proud of the men that are also leading in our communities and are providing for their families and are being leaders in their families, because that is one of the huge issues in many of the places where we work. Is, without employment, a lot of men are on the streets drinking. And so this really creates a way for dignity for the whole family. So the link is in the chat. So shop away.
That was a beautiful website. I love the design and everything, and the products look amazing. I'm definitely gonna take a look at that. Do you have any men that are artisans? Do you have any artists that are men, or is it mainly?
Yeah,
just
we
the
have
women?
many,
Awesome.
men who are artisans. Yeah, especially some of our leather workers and some of our masons.
That's awesome. I think it's important. The question is important, especially before Christina goes. When we did our tech rehearsal with the team here and the panelists, I said, hey, Patrick's going to be quiet the whole show. And of course, Beverly's like, that's not possible. But I really felt it would be important for me to step back. But then everybody's like, no, this is a discussion we all need to have. And I appreciate you including me today. Christina.
Yeah, I mean, I would just say men speak the hard truths. Speak up about the injustices that you see, because so many times it's just being able to be an advocate for the women in your lives, and not just the ones in your lives, but all women, right? Because all women's rights impact all women, and just speaking up, being comfortable in the discomfort of some of the topics that like, days for girls, like it's somebody I think very directly said that at the beginning, like that can be an uncomfortable conversation, but having those conversations and looping in your sons, I think that's it's something that's at home. It doesn't take a lot of effort. Talking to our sons about these things is just equally, if not more important. Naturally, women are in the nonprofit sector and in a very disproportionate way, but to try to loop in our boys or sons to just embrace that work, embrace the information, and be advocates for the females in their lives can be a really powerful thing. I do that with my own son. One of the things, and Celeste, I'm going to just take with like talking about periods. I've been talking to my son about periods for the last 2 years because I'm like, he will not go to middle school without knowing what that is and being fully prepared to support any of his friends. And I also talked to them about immigrants and refugees. Last night we were watching something on television and my son said, what's weird? He said, maybe this is bad and I shouldn't say this. And I'm like, that's fine. You're in a safe space. What? And then he said, I'm watching this movie, but I've noticed something. When we watch TV, there are a lot of white people. And I was like, yeah, it's called underrepresentation. And it's not just TV, and it's not just brown people, it is lots of people. It is women. There's so much more. And it's not just TV, it's politics. And so anyway, just talking, I know every time he says something, he probably thinks cringe. Why do I always bring something up? My mom's gonna give me like her 5-minute lecture now. But I think talking to our sons, talking to the other males in our lives, getting comfortable in the discomfort and having those hard conversations, I think is a really no cost sort of way to get involved. And sharing content on social media from organizations like ours can be super impactful, and it's just a little click and it can make a big difference.
I love it. I want to circle this. Thank you guys for sharing all of that. That's amazing. Celeste, you had mentioned about getting the guys involved on talking about periods, and it reminded me, I did just recently see our Rotary International president, Shaker Mehta, at a pad distribution on Twitter. Like, he was out doing some kind of pad distribution. I love that. So, and it reminded me to give a plug to everybody here that he's actually going to be in Georgetown this weekend at the Georgetown Field of Honor. So if anybody is in that area and planning on going to the Field of Honor, they are going to be graced by his presence. We're real excited to have him there as a guest. So I thought that might be a good time to plug that story.
And I just also want to remind everyone in the audience, we are open for questions. Please type in the chat section very clearly that it's a question, because we're getting a lot of messages privately here. So we got to clarify it's a question. And is it for a specific panelist or for the entire panel? We do have a question for Christina that I wanted to cover real quick. Let me get up here real quickly.
I think Christina's been all over that chat box. She's been answering them. I was going to ask him, but man.
Well, I think we should still ask them for people that aren't reading the thing. This is from Tim. Our club is in Marble Falls. We have a lot of Latino families. Does Todos Juntos have remote location capabilities?
Yes, so we do not currently. We've returned to in-person operations this year. We're trying to kind of navigate that right now with all of the different COVID measures before we decide whether or not we want to create a hybrid version. Last year we were virtual. This year we're back to in person, trying to decide if we want to do some sort of hybrid version of things. But we do have families who come to us from all over Central Texas, as far as Gerald, even Lockhart. Families come in because these services are really needed. So currently not in Marble Falls, currently not virtual, but definitely open to talk to the any families you might know in Marble Falls who we might be able to provide just some guidance to, or connect them with some different services and resources that exist a little closer to them.
Thank you. Jessica, question for you. Rotary is worldwide, and we have a lot of connections with communities all over the world. How do you, if someone on this call or listening on the recording knows an artisan that is very talented, that needs to build not only their business, but their life in the community, how could we get them connected to you? How does that process go? How do you find your artisans?
Yes, we do get inbound inquiries. And so that is one way that we find our artisans. So if you want to email support@noondaycollection.com and connect us directly, we will get in touch and begin an inquiry process with them.
Is there something that you're looking at in the market, in your marketplace, that's in need? Is there a certain region of the world that you would like to tackle more that you haven't been able to, or a certain type of product that you're looking for?
Mm-hmm. Well, we did recently launch Home by Noonday Collection. And so specifically, we are looking for glass right now. So glass artisans. We've gone to Mexico and have scouted a couple of workshops. And we also are looking for potters and ceramics, and also soft goods like napkins and items for the kitchen.
That's great, because again, I know that people that are going to be listening is going, I went here and I know this person. So thank you for that. Because again, that is empowering, not only, like you said, the family, but the community around them. So that's amazing.
We just had a fantastic question come in also from our Interact Club that's here with us today. Hey, Interactors, good job. This is a great question for all three of you. What keeps you motivated? I'll let any one of you want to jump in.
And actually, I love this question. I'm looking at it, and I was going to ask a question, so I'm going to piggyback. I'm going to say, what keeps you motivated? And on top of that, what is the one story? And we want to ask each one of you, what is that one story, that impactful story that when you're really ready, because we've all been there, trust me, as entrepreneurs, as runners of nonprofits, of people that serve the world, there's that one moment you're like, you know what, I'm done, I'm tired, I can't do this anymore. What keeps you motivated, and what is that one story, quickly, because we still have a lot of questions, but that keeps you going, you know what, that impact, that's it, I'm never giving this up?
That's actually why, for me, Days for Girls is so big. There are so many things that are hard to hear in our world, and women and girls bear the brunt of it. I hear stories that break my heart all the time. We just had one come from Jordan, and it's like, how does this happen? There's a practice in Malawi that when you start menstruating, that you are dusted off. And again, trigger warning, sorry, shields up. The girls are sexually exploited to purify them because their period just started, putting them at risk of disease and pregnancy, and they're just young. So those kinds of things make you feel like, but the good news is that truly, if you give communities resources, if you give knowledge, if we all start shattering the stigma that keeps these things in place, there really is a shift that can happen. Education, solutions, connection, and that is exactly how Rotary does it. Strengthening the community. And to me, I'm just so grateful there are things we can do to shift really hard things, and they're incredibly effective. And briefly, I get to hear the stories of the girls who were able to say no to being married as a child. I get to see equally hard things, an 8-year-old girl who just had a baby, and a Rotary group was there and got the picture for me. And then girls that stay in school, girls who can succeed. So what keeps me motivated is recognizing that instead of falling for the heartbreak, going for the impact. And that's what everyone here is doing. That's what keeps me going, knowing there is something we can do in a lot of ways in this world. And Rotary is a big part of it.
Yep. Jessica.
Linked prosperity is what has kept me going, just knowing that my success equals someone else's success. And the last couple of months have been incredibly challenging. And when you've been at something 11 years, it's been really successful. And then you start to lose some of that success. That is just, it's emotionally really hard. It's challenging to lead through that. And there was a particularly hard day, and I opened my WhatsApp, and Jalia, the original artisan that I had told you about, sent me a photo. And the last time I was in Uganda was in 2018. And because of her job with Noonday Collection, they had been able to purchase land and build a beautiful house on that land that they were farming. And it had just amazing fruit and corn. And then they were harvesting all of that to feed their community. And Jalia and I love guacamole and avocados. She discovered guacamole because she began visiting me in Texas many years ago. And we decided on that trip to plant an avocado tree. So we made some guacamole and took one of the seeds and we planted it in the ground. And she said to me, now I'm getting teary. She said, avocado trees take a long time to grow and produce fruit, but in 7 years, you're going to come back here and you're going to see a tree. And this was a very challenging day that I was having. I hadn't thought about this avocado tree in a long time. And I pull up my WhatsApp and it's a beautiful photo of a huge tree. And she said, look at how far our seed has grown. It hasn't made avocados yet, but look at this tree. And I just keep in this hard time going back to that tree, and that my job is to just still water the garden that I've been given, and to remain faithful and to trust that it's going to grow in its proper time, and to not give up. And I just can't quit on my partners. And these are partners that, are facing incredible challenges due to COVID. Tourism shut down. They have a store. They started a store by the American Embassy, a thriving store. It's closed. I was in Guatemala this summer. All of our artisan partners that have artisan booths that usually get visited on Saturdays, they're closed. So there's just a lot of hard happening in these areas of the world. And as hard as things can feel here sometimes still, working in this retail environment, I can't quit on them.
I will never look at avocados the same. No, I mean that. That really touched me so much. And thank you. Thank you for both your answers. And Christina, and we're going to switch it next time. Christina goes first because you're, I just know
that's
that.
okay.
So go ahead, Christina.
I'm good. I'll keep it brief, just for time purposes. Two stories that just immediately come to mind is that something that happened in the last month. So we kicked off a new semester, and I'm going to focus on our moms, the women that we serve. One of my staff members was walking down the hall, and she crossed paths with one of the moms, and she stopped her and she said, "I have to tell you something." She said, "I want to tell you why I'm learning English." And my staff member, curiously asked what her reason was. And she said, I want to go to my daughter's high school graduation and understand everything that's being said. And I don't want to have to wait for somebody to tell me what's being said. And I think that's something that we really take for granted. Language is such a powerful thing. And it can be a barrier, but it can also open a lot of opportunities. And last Thursday, we had a virtual event, like a virtual tour, and one of our mothers who spoke during the tour choked up while she was giving her testimonial. And she just started really crying in a way that was making it difficult for her to get through all of it. And afterwards she said, "I'm so sorry I cried. I'm so sorry I cried." And I was like, "Are you kidding? That was great." Like, "No, it's fine." And she said, "It's just that." And she started crying again. And she said, telling my story, I just suddenly remembered what it felt like to be at the store and having to stand there very scared saying, "Spanish, please, Spanish, please," and hoping that someone spoke Spanish so that they could understand me and I could understand them. And I don't have to do that anymore. I can go to a store and I don't have to say Spanish, please anymore. I can ask in English for the things I need. And it's moments like that, because this work is so exhausting. It's exhausting. And the pandemic has made it like really, really exhausting. But it's moments like that that just kind of give you that boost of energy you need to keep on keeping on, in the words of Joe Dirt.
I just have to say, if the three of you were to quit tonight, the world would not be the same. And on behalf of everyone that's impacted, I've been impacted today hearing everything. Thank you. Thank you for what you do. Thank you for the long nights, the early mornings, the tears, the sweat, all the things that it takes for the three of you to run these organizations and make the impacts that you've made around the world and will continue. And because of this meeting, now I know about you three. So I'm going to be spreading the word big time. That's one of my love languages, is connection. And I'm going to be keeping in touch with the three of you, and I want to be involved. And so the last question, Amber or Beverly, do you have a question before I ask the last one? Go ahead.
I wanted to just mention that I have dropped links into the chat box for all three of these organizations. There are links for you to be able to connect with them if you want to learn more, learn how to get involved. I think we have direct relationships already. We've got Erin here on the call, and I'm excited about that, representing Noonday. Celeste is a Rotarian over in D5550. She's happy to do club talks for us. I've talked to her about that and Zoom in. So we want to stay connected there. So Christina, I'm your personal connection in the Rotary world. So if you want to know anything about Todos Juntos, please reach out. We will get you connected. We love supporting them here locally as well. So I just want to make sure we all knew how we could continue supporting each other. Beverly, I think you have a committee, right? Do you want to introduce that to us
Before you do that real quickly, Beverly, if you don't mind, and we're just flowing here. Amber, you really brought up when you just brought that up, could we quickly, because we are running out of time, the three of you tell us, how can Rotarians, besides going on the Noonday website and supporting, because we're all going to do that, it's beautiful stuff, and we're going to shop. What are the three things that Rotarians tomorrow can do to start supporting the impacts that you guys are making in your organization? So quickly, Christina, if you can start.
Tell people about us. Just spread the word. Share things on social media, get involved in a way that's meaningful to you, either by volunteering or spreading the word. or any other way that a nonprofit needs, but also making sure that when you reach out to those nonprofits, that you ask what it is that they need versus what it is that you need.
Very important. That's always the thing we mention. I love that. Jessica.
Yeah, for us, you can shop. You can also gather your friends. So we are happy to connect you with an ambassador. You can gather in a Zoom call like this, and we'll actually tell you more of the stories behind our product, what they're made of, where they come from, how you might want to style them. We can do all of your gift shopping for you. You can also become a Noonday Collection ambassador. And so that is the opportunity. If you're interested, reach out to Erin. She is in the chat right there. And that's just an opportunity. It's a side hustle. Most of our ambassadors have full-time jobs in addition to getting to be connected to this purpose. Our ambassadors get to travel. They earn trips to places like Guatemala and Ecuador. And we also have a sales conference in January in Austin where we get together, and it's just a really special community. So those are your 3 paths, and of course, spreading the word.
Thank you. Celeste.
For us, you know it, right where you are, there are opportunities to serve with Days for Girls and make a Days for Girls kit or assemble one with your own 2 hands. Many Rotary clubs have been important influencers and supporters of our enterprises, which is a place in the world where they're making Days for Girls kits, and they're the local leaders shifting the stigma and shame and making sure girls have what they can count on month after month. And you can also share about our story, and you can invite me or a member of the team to come talk with your club, share what's possible, and share one of the meaningful ways you can shift things in the world.
Thank you, Celeste. And our district is already starting our process of helping with empowering women and girls. And DG Beverly, would you like to say a couple words about that and introduce our panel?
Most definitely. I have developed a wonderful Empowering Girls and Women committee, and many of them are on the meeting today. Michelle Florander, who is going to be our chair. She's actually from the Lakeway Lake Travis Club. We also have Delcina West from Colleen Heights. We have Kathy Danahay from the Round Rock Club. We have Betty Richardson from the University Area Club. We have Midge Norris is from the E Club, and Stacy Bauman is also from the Lakeway Lake Travis Club. And let me tell you, we are certainly going to support Noonday by supporting, by buying Christmas presents and buying Mother's Day gifts, knowing that we are touching lives wherever they are. We are going to be supporting Celeste and Days for Girls because we will actually be doing 3 Rotary Days of Service within our district. This coming springtime, we have 3 chapters, Days for Girls, in our district: Cedar Park, Georgetown, and Temple Belton. So we will be doing a day of Rotary service and making these hygiene kits. And we're also going to have a Bloomers Buy Bash, I think is what we're going to call it. We're going to be asking all of our clubs to go out and help purchase underwear because this is so desperately needed by Days for Girls as well. So we're also going to be supporting Days for Girls. And then Christina, what I would say is, we are here for you. You are local. We want to get in and help you as volunteers at Todos Juntos. So please let us know what we can do for you locally, because that's what we do. We are here for service, and we are service above self. So thank you, my committee, for being here with me today and doing what you're going to do this next spring. And thank everyone for being on the call today, because we are going to help empower girls and women throughout the world this next year. And thank you, Kevin, for being here as my classmate.
And thank you so much, DG Beverly, for your leadership. It is incredible. The year has been going so well, and I look forward to seeing the impacts we make by the end of the year, the Rotary year. So thank you for that. I want to just say before Amber wraps this up, this has been a very touching hour. I want to thank Jessica, Christina, and Celeste again. My hat goes off to all 3 of you. It's incredible the impact you're making, and I'm here to help. So I will be in touch because I want to keep up with you guys. And I hope everyone listening to this, either live right now or on the recording, I know you've been inspired. So let's keep moving this forward. Don't go shut the computer down and go watch TV and say, well, that was nice. think about ways we can plant seeds, think about ways we can work with these organizations and create projects and organizations at other areas of the world that are in need. That is what Rotary is about. That's what this initiative that President Shaker has created. We are going to empower women and girls all over the world this year and beyond. So with that, Amber, take us out. This has been amazing. And thank you, each of you, for being with us today.
Here's how we close out. We say goodbye to the recording. Everybody say bye.